Welcome to this demonstration of Polarion ALM brought to you by myself, James Voller. Today I'm going to be covering off the different areas that we have within the Polarion ALM product, honing in particularly on the requirements section. Now Polarion ALM does have many features available to it. Within the Polarion ALM product we do have the requirements module, and this is where you can work on specifications, requirement documentation, all within the Polarion tool. Within requirements, we do have review and approval functionality, along with complete traceability, end-to-end traceability within this module. Polarion ALM does also come with a QA module associated to it. Within this QA module, there is test planning and test execution that you can do for your manual testing. There is also support for the automated testing, along with any issue tracking as a result of those issues that may have been raised as a result of the test. We do have a change management built into Polarion ALM. This is where we can do impact analysis for anything that's changed within our requirements or within our test cases. Anything that's changed, we can actually see the knock-on effect through suspects. Everything within Polarion is fully version controlled, so there is complete versioning within the tool. Everything from the documentation versions that you may be creating down to the different versions of a work item that you may have changed. We do have project management built into the Polarion ALM tool. So within here we can start doing release and iteration planning, so it does support the agile methodologies of Scrum and Kanban, but it also does support the traditional methods of waterfall as well. We do have resource management built in, so we can assign work items to individuals and we can have time tracking associated to it as well. On top of the core product of ALM, we do have a variance module which is available. Within here it does support a feature model with 150% specification, and we can then compare the different variants as well. So we can actually create a variant of a product, select what features are going to be available to it, and then automatically generate the documentation associated to that variant all through that variance module. On top of our variance module, we do also have additional connectors available to outside tools that aren't Polarion. Within these connectors, they're all available within our extensions portal. There's various different synchronizations, and out of the box within Polarion, we do have a connector built in for Atlassian's Jira. Before we start the live demonstration of Polarion, we do have three main artifacts within the tool that I want to make you aware of. The first one being the live reports. It's these live reports that are actually there as pages that you can create, edit, and display information that you may require within them. We can see a couple of examples of these live pages. Within our left hand side here we can see that we've got a screenshot of a requirements process. So we're actually explaining to our requirements engineers what the objectives are, what our inputs are going to be, what our outputs are going to be, and our review and verification process. We can also see an overview of the workflow that's associated to our work items, our requirements within our process. We can also then on our right hand side see a more traditional reporting page. So these pages can be used to display your main KPIs. As an example here we do have a plan status, so we can see a burn down chart, and we do have a Kanban board displayed there as well. But these can be completely customized to fit your own needs for different pie charts you may have, traceability tables that you want to display, and they're all customized by widgets. On top of our live pages, we do have our live docs, and these are documents stored within Polarion. You can store and create them within Polarion. As we can see here, the formatting is very similar to that you'd come to expect of a Microsoft Word product. We do have the standard text-based formatting options that you would come to expect within the tool. So we do have our bolds, our italics, our underlines, headings, and so on. We can see within our examples here that we can input diagrams into our pages, and we can also then input our work items into these documents as well. As we can see, some of these work items are actually stored under different headings that we have as examples here as well. So that brings me on to our final main artifact of our work items. Our work items are our smallest entity within Polarion. These work items can be configured to be whatever you require them to be. We have a couple of examples here of a software requirement or a software test case, but they can be configured to be whatever you require them to be. So they can be tasks assigned to particular devs. They could be work packages that you want to have. They could be stories. They could be epics. They can be changed to whatever you need them to be. As we can see within these screenshots, these work items do store data in them. The data stored within them is stored within fields, and again, these are all configurable. So we do have different enumeration fields, so we can have drop-down lists. We do have rich text fields available, so you can chop and change and select the views that you require for your particular work items for information you want to capture. On top of this, every single work item and every single document does support collaboration. We can see this within this particular work item on the left-hand side. We do have a comments section available within every single work item so that collaboration can take place. These comments are threaded, so you can have full discussions taking place within there. I'm now going to go into a live demonstration of the Polarion requirements product. So Polarion is accessible over the web. So once Polarion is installed onto a server, any of your users will be able to access the Polarion tool by going onto a browser. We do have various supported browsers, so your Chromes, your Firefox, your Internet Explorer, and so on. You are required to log into Polarion, and once you've logged in, you'll then be presented with the project that you were last working on. Within the Polarion workspace, we can see that on our left-hand side, we do have this navigational area, and on the right-hand side is our workspace. We can see the navigation of our project that we are currently in, and we can view other projects that we are looking at by clicking onto our area here, and we can open up different projects. We can also search within our project. We have the search bar available to us here. We can simply type in something within here, so in this case requirement, and it's searching through automatically the different shortcuts that we have available on our left-hand side. We can see that it's searching through any of the documentation, any of our live pages, and any of our work items within there. We can also hit the return key, and it will then perform a search throughout our entire Polarion project. We can see here that it's actually searching against our different work items, any of our documents, any of our pages. We'll also be searching against any of our plans or test runs and attachments. So everything is included within there where requirement is used. We can also see that we can change the results from just our project that we're looking at the moment, which is our Siemens project. We could also change this to search everywhere within our Polarion workspace. On our left-hand side as well, not only do we have our searching features, but we can also then click onto our own user dashboard. By selecting this user dashboard, we can then see any tasks and defects that are assigned to us, our documents awaiting signature, anything that's awaiting our approval, and any change impacts there as well, along with our activities that we've been up to previously. Within here, this is all configurable to your own needs. So if you do wish to see different information within here, you can configure this to be specific for what you want to be able to see. But this is a starting point for every user to be able to see information that is relevant to them when they log into the application. On top of this, on our left-hand side, we do have our home screen. Within here, within our home page, we can actually customize this, configure this to be any information that we want to show within here. So it could be an overview of what the project's purpose actually is. Everything within here is completely configurable. This is essentially just a live page. So we can change this to be any information that we want to be able to see within here. We do have our different shortcuts available on our left-hand side, and we can also then see our work items section. If I view our work items, we can see within here our work items are now displayed. We do have the different work item types, and we can select any of these to actually reduce down the number of work items shown in our table. Within our table view, we can select any of these work items and view the information on them. There is a horizontal view and a vertical view available. So the vertical view is what we're looking at currently. We can change this to a horizontal view if we require. Any of the details shown within here are all completely configurable. So the headings that we're actually seeing of ID, title, status, priority, assignees, planned in, and so on, all of these are configurable to meet whatever we need them to be. So we can change these views to suit our needs. When we're viewing our work items, just as we'd seen within the screenshots earlier, we can actually see the work item details and our fields within here. On top of this, we can also then start to see any of the traceability that takes place within Polarion, so we can see any of our linked work items that are associated to this sample system requirement that we have here. If I hover over this, we can actually see that this sample system requirement is actually refined by a software requirement, is refined by a mechanical requirement, is refined by an electrical requirement, and is also verified by a test case. The links that you actually want to have, the link roles that you actually wish to have within the application are all configurable. Polarion does come with templates that are available out of the box where all of this is configured and already for you to start running with, but you can configure this to be met to your own satisfaction of what link roles you actually wish to have within the tool. We can see our fields stored within here, so we can make changes to these. We do have our workflow that's associated to every single work item. We have our comments section. We can see our linked work items again, and we can have any attachments stored to our particular work items. It is very easy to be able to search through our work items. We can start to layer up this search term at the top. So if we do want to search against a particular status of a work item, we can do so. This is returning results of anything at the moment until I decide to select particular work item statuses, so in this case draft. So you can build this up to search against anything within the tool. Any of your fields that you actually have available within Polarion are all searchable. We can see all of these listed within here. So we do have our priorities, we do have our statuses, we do have suspects, we do have our time points, we do have our titles and so on. And the more and more fields that you actually add to your Polarion instance, the more that you will actually be able to search against. So any data that you input into Polarion, you will always be able to search and return results for. So that is our work items view. We do also additionally have a documents and pages view. So within our documents and pages, this is where we can actually start to generate reports that we may wish to be able to see or store the documentation that we wish to be able to create. Within here, we can see an example of a process description. So within here, we can see a document. We do have our standard text formatting options available to us on the top there. We have our headings within here, and we can see that we've actually got work items stored within this document. We can also see that our diagrams have been added. So we do have all these different options available to us when we're creating this documentation. On top of this, we can add in any additional images. We can add in additional diagrams as well if we wish, and we can add in additional wiki content that we may wish to use within our documentation. On top of these, we do have our live reporting pages. All of these live reporting pages are completely configurable and customizable. So we can see that this page actually has no content at the moment. I can edit this and can actually start to create content within here. We do have different options available. So we do have a wiki pages. So this is the example of a wiki page currently. So we can input information within our wiki markup styles, but we can also then start to go into our live pages, which is the newer version, the newer format of the Polarion pages. Within here, we can actually see that this is producing a traceability table currently, so it's actually showing us the test run results of anything that we've actually got within here. We can create new pages very, very quickly and easily by selecting our live report page option or our live document option. So this is where we can actually create information from scratch within here. I will add in a new page here now. And we can see here that our live page is actually broken down into different sections. These different sections can be added to. We can add in additional regions within here, and these regions can then store free text, but it can also then start to be added in and have widgets. And it's these widgets that actually allow us to produce the reports within our live pages. These different widgets, many are available. We do have trend charts, we do have pie charts that are available. We do have stacked bar charts that are available. We do have a plan velocity trend chart. We do have our Gantt charts, our traceability tables, and so on. All of these different widgets are available out the box. We do also have additional widgets that are available through our extensions portal. So if there are additional widgets that you do require, you can add these in. Alternatively, you can add in your own script blocks within our live pages as well. For the example of this demonstration, I'll just show you how to add in a pie chart. Once you've actually selected your widget, you do then just have different options available to you, so you can start to select the different search terms that you want to add. So I'm going to start looking for just our system requirements only at this point, but we can add in our queries that we have. So anywhere where we can search for within Polarion again, so our different fields, we can search and report against those to show them within these live pages. If you do have saved queries that you used previously, we can actually select these here as well. I'm going to select to separate these by severity field currently, and because it is only using a very small amount of data, we can actually see that we've only got 2 results actually being shown here. So we do only have 2 system requirements within our project currently, so we can see that both of these are currently as should have. You can start to layer up additional widgets within our Polarion live page here, but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to show this one. Once you're happy with the changes that you've made, you can click save, go back, and we can actually now view this live report here, this live page shown within here. This is live for every single user, so every user will be able to view these pages that you're actually creating. So now I've given you an overview of the Polarion tool and how it looks and feels when we're working with Polarion to see our live pages, to see our documentation, and to see our work items. We're actually going to go through and work through looking with our requirements documentation in particular. We're actually going to go into some detail now so we can actually see a document import within Polarion. So everything we've shown so far has just been information that's already stored within Polarion. We're actually now going to look into importing a document into Polarion. We're then going to go into document editing. We're going to go through an export and external review process, and we're also then going to look into our document approval process as well. So within a document import, we are going to import a Word document into Polarion. We're going to create a document via the import. We're going to select what file to actually import into Polarion. We're going to look at requirements mapping during the import process, and then we're going to show you the imported document within there. Before we go ahead with the actual import into Polarion, I am going to show you the Word document that we're actually going to import. We can see here that this is just a fairly standard generic documentation for requirements and our specifications for our polar car in this case. We can see that we've got our table of contents included within here. We do have an image that's included. We do have our standard paragraph text. We do have external hyperlinks. We do have tables that are included, and we do also have bullet points. So as I say, it is a fairly generic document that I'm going to be importing into Polarion. There are many ways to create a document within Polarion, but for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to show you how to create a document via the Word import. If we navigate to the Documents and Pages section within Polarion, we can then create a new document. Within this Create New wizard, we can see that we can create a new live document from scratch, but we can also then import from various different methods, such as the Word document import, RecAF document, and page archive. If I select Word document, we can then choose which file we wish to import using the import wizard. If I select my file and select next, we'll now be taken through to a preview page for our document import. Within this document, we can see that we have our image taken across that we're going to import. We've got our headings and our structure of our document all included here, along with our external hyperlinks and tables as well. When running through the import process, we can see that we've actually got some areas highlighted as new tasks in this case. We want to change this. We actually want these to be system requirements as we're importing them, and it's searching through anywhere where the terms of must and should are being used. So we can see here within our documentation, the car should have approximately the following dimensions. We can see should is being used, so that's actually being highlighted as a task, which is now going to be changed when I click preview to a system requirement. So we can make these changes very, very quickly. We do have a whole host of different options available to us, so we can select to highlight via styles. We can go through contains words as headings, is in a table, so we have these different options available to us. We can also add in additional work item rules, so we can mark tables as individual requirements as well, or we can add in additional paragraph ones. So in this case, I'm going to change these to a should and must search that are taking place. What we can actually see here quite quickly is that we have our musts and we have our shoulds that are being imported as requirements. But we can also see that we actually have our severity fields mapped against them of a should have on both in this case. I want to be able to change this. I want to be able to set automatically that my must-haves are actually going to be set to severities of must-haves as well. And we can do this through the advanced options that we have. We can see here that we can set our field for our severity and we can change the value to a must-have. If I preview this again now, we can see again quickly that we have this ability to set the must-have value against our severity field here. So we can see now that our must-haves correspond correctly with a must-have severity, which is perfect. That's what we want to be able to do within our documentation when we're importing. Once we've actually gone through and set up and configured how we want our document to appear and how we want to pull in these requirements automatically through the import wizard, we can actually save our configuration that we've made. So we can actually reuse the configurations again and again and again if you have multiple documents that you wish to import. I'm happy with how my document's looking at the moment, so I'm actually going to click the import wizard here now just to complete the import process. So now it's going to actually assign unique reference numbers to our work items. So we will now be able to see the preview of our documentation. We can see our table of contents is populated. We can see our headings have been pulled across. We can see our imagery there. We can see our hyperlinks as before. But we also then have the ability to see that our work items are imported with unique reference numbers against them. And as you can see then, that is how quick and easy it is to import a document into the Polarion tool, which we will now be able to work with and create more and more requirements as we're going through our requirements documentation process. So we have seen there how quick and simple it actually was to import a document into Polarion so we could work with it. By working with a document in Polarion, we do now have that reduced risk of working on different document versions, so there's no longer going to be stored locally. We can actually see that now we can all centrally go to a place on our server and work with that same version of the document. As we've got our document in Polarion, we can now start looking at editing this document. So we can now go through and create additional requirements within our document that we've imported. We can add in a child requirement. We can add in an image or a diagram within there, and we can start looking at the document configuration as well. When working with Polarion documentation, we can create additional requirements very, very quickly and easily. In this document at the moment, we can see that we have our introduction and we have our requirements that are listed. I'm going to add in an additional requirement. I can do this by hitting the Enter key whilst already on a requirement that we can see there, and I can then just start typing. I can also add in additional child requirements by using the Tab key. We can see now that it's indented slightly. So this is automatically going to create a link of those two requirements that I'm creating. Again, I can create another child requirement by using the Enter key, and again just continuing to type my requirements as I'm going along. Once I'm happy with the requirements I've added into this document, I can then simply click Save, and it will now give me my unique reference numbers against the work items that I've created here. So we can see these have now been added to our document. If I want to add in any additional details on my work items, I can actually use the editor here. So we can actually select images that we want to insert, or alternatively we can also insert diagrams. When using the diagram editor, it's a case of clicking and dragging and moving across any of our different options we have on our left hand side. We can see a whole host of different shapes. We have some markup options available, iOS 6 options available, iOS 7 and different mockup buttons. There are many different types available for you, but within here I'm just going to add in some generic shapes just to show you how quick and easy it is to actually create some diagrams within the tool. We can also add in additional text. Once we're happy, we can then insert into our work item. So we can now see this included here. Again, we'll click Save to make those changes. When working with documentation, not only can we make changes to our requirements that are stored within the document, add in diagrams like we've seen so far, we can also make changes to the configuration options available to our document. So currently we can see in the background we actually have our work item reference number, we have a descriptive field being shown, and we also have our severity field being shown. But we can actually select what fields we want to use and show within our documentation. So if we wish to add in any due dates and we wish to see those within our document, we can add those. If we want to add in any created by dates, we can do so. And we can make changes to say whether we want this to appear in the sidebar, or if we want it to appear within our document, or if we want to have it appear in both. We also have the additional option to show those field values as a table at the end. I'm just going to set this for now. Once I click OK to accept these changes, it's now showing me the information that I've requested. So we can actually see from my work item details the created date that's been added on there. So that is how quick and easy it is to make changes to our document and configure these however we want. It's worth noting that you can actually make changes to that configuration on a document-to-document basis. So if you do have information you want to show in one document, but not necessarily in another, you can make those changes, and it is very flexible to allow you to do that. So we've seen within that demonstration there how quick and easy it actually was to edit within Polarion. We've got that familiar usage that everyone's used to of working within Word-style documents. It was very easy to modify those requirements documents and start showing information that we actually wanted to be able to show within that document as well. Now we're actually going to look at going through the export and external review process. So we are actually going to be able to take a document that we've created within Polarion, we've imported into Polarion as well previously. We can export that document back out to Word. We can make changes within Word, and then we can actually import those changes as well. Once we've made those changes within Word that we've imported back in, we are then able to view changes made within the Polarion tool using the different histories that we have stored within Polarion. Once you're happy with your document that you've been creating and editing within the Polarion UI, Polarion offers an export functionality. We can export Polarion using the Word round trip or RecIF round trip, but for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to show you the Word round trip. When working with the Word round trip, we can export the document, and we're presented with three different choices that we have. We're presented with the review option, which allows you to export the document for the end user to be able to review the document, but they won't be able to make any changes to the document's content. They'll only be able to add comments using Word's functionality. We also then have the prioritization option. Within this prioritization option, they can make simple changes, so they can add comments to the document, and they can also change work item fields that you allow them to by selecting them from this UI. So you can actually allow them to make a change to, say, the severity work item field. There's also the collaboration option, which allows the end user to then make any changes at all. They can add their comments, they can change work item fields, and they can actually change any of the text within the documentation as well. For the purpose of this, I'm going to use the prioritization export. When it's running through the export process, it will then populate the Word document and download it for you. We can see this now. The Word document's opened up and we can see this documentation now. As we can see, it's pulled across our headings and our format, our imagery as well, and our external hyperlinks, our tables and so on. But we also then have the ability to see that we've got our should haves listed here, so we can actually make changes to these, and it will give us the options that are presentable within Polarion. So we can actually only make changes that are relevant to the Polarion application. So we can make changes here of, say, must have. Perhaps I want to make a change here to a nice to have. Again, another nice to have. And we also then want to be able to add in additional comments as well. If I add in a comment here using Word's functionality of commenting, and I can save the changes that have been made. Once you've made your edits using Word, so this could have been sent off to a third party externally or shared around via email potentially, you can then re-import the changes that have been made. So once your third party supplier perhaps may have made some changes, or your third party collaborator, you can import these changes, choose the file which you wish to import, and start the import. This will just take a few seconds to actually import the document back into Polarion. We can see there now that it's imported the document successfully, and we can now see the document back in the Polarion application live again. So if scrolling through, we can actually then see that the changes to the should have that I've made a change to is now listed as a must have, and we have our nice to haves listed in there as well. We can also view the comment that I'd added in, so we can see that comment added in there, who it was added in by, and the date and timestamp as well. So very, very useful to be able to see that. One thing we should note though is that I know I've actually made those changes because I've made them just then. But actually, using the Polarion history function, we can actually see a fully auditable and traceable history within the application. So if I was to compare two versions of our document, one that I've done before the export and one that I've done as part of the import, scrolling through, we can actually then see very, very quickly and easily what has been changed through the color coded key that's used. Red is used for anything that's been removed, green's for anything that's been added, and then also additionally anything that is highlighted in blue is there as a format change. Because I haven't made any format changes, because we'd use the prioritization option on the export, just allowing us to make changes to the field values and adding comments, it's not possible to make any changes to the content there, but we can see here that we do have the greens for added and the reds for removed. So it's very, very quick and easy to see any changes that have been made within Polarion. It's worth noting that that change isn't just for what's been exported on the round trip. You can actually compare any previous revisions of your documents throughout its whole life cycle at any point whilst it's been used and created within Polarion. So we've seen there within that demonstration again how we can actually allow external users to collaborate within our documentation that we do have within Polarion. So we can export it out as we've seen. And we do also have full control over those document changes that we actually want to have. So do we want to allow them to make changes to particular fields? Do we want them just to be able to add comments, or do we want them to be able to have full collaboration access to our document? Now we're going to start looking at our document approval. So every single document within Polarion does have a workflow associated to it. So we're going to now start to put our document into the review status. We're going to go through our work item approvals, and we're also going to start looking at our document signatures there as well. Within Polarion, every single document has a workflow. Within the document that we've been working with so far in this demonstration, we can see that we've actually then got document properties that we can go to, and this is where we can access the workflow engine of the document. We can see here that our current status for the document is in draft, and we want to put it into a review state. We can do this by changing the status to perform action, send to review. When I've clicked that, we can actually see that we've got a validation error against it, and that's because we require a field to be entered in at this point. So we can see here now that we actually require the version field to be entered in. I'm just going to put in version 1.0 for now. Once I've performed that change, I now need to click Save to action that change, and our document is now saved. As part of our workflow, we're actually saying that every single work item that's stored within this document is actually going to be set to an in review status as well. So we can actually scroll through our document, see our work items that are stored within here. I can open up this work item and view it in a different screen. We can also now see that our status for this workflow, status for this work item is actually set to an in review state. Now our work items are set to an in review state along with our document as well. We can now go through and set our approvals against the document. Within the documentation, we can actually then see that our work items all have an approve or disapprove option against them. And we can actually go through this document and approve or disapprove each work item one by one because I'm set as an approver within the application. So I can see here that I can actually go through, approve or disapprove each one whilst working within this document view. Because I've disapproved one, I actually require to put in a comment against this. I can put that comment in there. Again, I can save my changes that I've made by using the save button. So we can see there clearly now that I've got 4 that have been approved and 1 that's been disapproved. And I've also then got 17 that are still outstanding. Whilst working with approvals, we can actually also change not just from document view, but we can also view this within a table view, and we can see each individual work item displayed that's within the document to allow us to then do the approve or disapprove against the work item within this view here as well. Once you've gone through and actually approved or disapproved your documentation, your work items stored within it, Polarion also has a powerful electronic signature functionality against it as well. So we can actually perform electronic signatures at different points of our workflows within Polarion. This is just a configuration that's set as part of the workflow engine, so you can actually say that particular statuses require an electronic signature to go against it. We can see that we have a workflow signature required here, so we can see that we've got our mark reviewed status here, and we can perform an electronic signature against it. These electronic signatures also comply with FDA 21 compliance for IEC 62304, for an example. We can invite users to sign the document by sending this as an invite for signature. We can invite users within our application to sign the document. So we can add these in here. We can now see that they've been invited to sign it. And also as a user, because I'm of signature status within here as well, I can then also put my electronic signature against this. Once again, click Save to commit that. When I click Save, we can see here that we actually are then required to put in our username and password against this, and this is a manual process. We can't use a saved one against this. This is very a secure method for putting your electronic signature against it to prevent any keyboard surfing within an organization. So we can sign that now, and we can now see that my electronic signature has actually gone against that document. If I click on all signatures, we can see that there that myself as a user, the system administrator, has signed that document, and we still have 2 other users to sign this document. So we've seen within that document approval demonstration there that we can actually lock documents to prevent further changes. This is crucial as part of the review process. And we do also want full control over traceability. So we do want to be able to see who has done what at what time, who has approved what at what time, and potentially why they've approved it or why they've disapproved it. And that is crucial. So within this demonstration today, we have seen a document import, where we've seen how quick and simple it actually was to take a document from Word and bring it into Polarion. Of course, that document could also be a rec.if as well. Once we're actually working within Polarion, we do have that reduced risk of working on different document versions, which is crucial, can really be a time saver, can prevent those costly errors. We've seen how to edit documents. It does have very familiar usage that everyone's used to these days with working with Microsoft Word for years and years and years. And the documentation is easy to modify with our requirements within it. We have gone through an external review process, so we've allowed external users to collaborate on our document, and we have been able to control what changes they can actually make to the document when we've exported it. On top of that, we've also gone through our document approval process, where we can actually start to add in our electronic signatures against our Polarion documents. So we can see here the real values of working with Polarion for requirements management. We've been able to see how we could prevent costly errors with working within the tool. Everyone's working on the same versions. That's going to prevent any different changes and errors caused by working on different versions. As the documentation is all centrally stored, it's going to improve efficiency as well. You're not going to have people searching through their emails to try and find a document version that they know they should be working on, wasting time. Everyone can go to the same point within your Polarion server and start working on that documentation. Everything is completely traceable within Polarion, all the changes that users have made as to what date and what time changes were made, what changes were actually made at that point in time. So everything is fully traceable within there. And Polarion does actually complement your internal process. Polarion is completely configurable to meet your own process needs. Yes, it comes with templates out of the box and suggested processes, but of course you may have your own. We do have extensions available with additional templates available for ISO 26262 and so on. We do have a med pack and a risk pack available as well. Okay, so Polarion is a really, really powerful tool. We have many customers working with Polarion worldwide now. We have millions and millions of users working within Polarion. So don't just take our word for the fact that it does solve these problems. There are many case studies available that you can actually look into and see how Polarion has added some real value to these organizations. So I hope you've enjoyed the webinar today and found it useful and informative. If you do have any further questions that you may wish to ask me, my details are on the screen now, so do please feel free to send me through an email. I can always try and respond to those queries that you may well have. And thank you for attending.